Welcome to the Earth Chronicles. Tonight's presentation is on Hinduism. Hinduism is the oldest religion in the world, dating back to at least 7000 BC. It is the third largest religion in the world, with about 900 million followers, 95% of which are located in India. Hinduism does not have any one specific founder or one set of beliefs. It has different schools of thought that have different philosophies. As we have seen with the Egyptians, their civilization grew up around the Nile River, just as the Mesopotamians were located along the Euphrates and Tigris river systems. Hindu civilization formed along the Ganges and Indus rivers that flow through India. Hinduism has the oldest religious texts in the world, including the four Vedas, which were written in Sanskrit, the oldest language known to man. Other works include the Upanishads, the Bhagavad Gita, 18 Puranas, and the Ramayana and Mahabharata epics. Many believe the Gita and the New Testament are the most spiritual books on earth. Collectively, these works represent a treasure of religious beliefs, practices, rituals, philosophy, worship, and yoga practices, including meditation, that can help man to experience self-consciousness and eventually God consciousness, which is known as samadhi. Hinduism does not have one specific dogma that all practitioners follow. There are many sects that have different beliefs and practices compared to the other schools. Some of the beliefs that are basic to all include the three supreme gods, Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. Brahma is the creator, Vishnu the sustainer, and Shiva the destroyer. He who breaks down the world so it can be rebuilt in a more perfect form. These three gods make up the Hindu Trinity. Besides these gods, there are hundreds more. Nevertheless, the Hindus believe in an ultimate reality that can be called the All. It contains all the universe and is the ultimate reality known as Parabrahm. Other notable characteristics include the belief in the existence of an Atman or soul for each human being, the reincarnation of one's soul into successive lives on earth in a physical body, karma, which is the belief in free will, but once one chooses to act, they must reap the consequences of their actions. The consequences are karma. Karma affects not only this life, but future lives as well. Everything existing on the physical plane is an exteriorization of a thought made manifest, which must be balanced by the one who issued the thought. This is cosmic law at the highest level. Notice how this belief places the responsibility for wrong actions on the person acting as such. It does not place forgiveness by God or Christ as being effective in this regard. One must learn from his mistakes and correct his behavior accordingly. He must accept his karma and try to live without creating more karma. If all his actions are just, a man will not create further karma. This is the way that Christ taught. Numerous incarnations make up the wheel of life, death, and rebirth that all souls must go through, samsara, which is based on maya or delusion. Man does not perceive things the way they really are. He sees as if in a dream. Awareness runs through his four senses. It is similar to the radio waves that a radio can pick up. If a radio is tuned to the proper wavelength, one makes contact and hears the show. If the radio is not tuned to the proper wavelength, the listener hears nothing. Our senses work similarly. They pick up only what they are tuned into. All else goes by, like a mist in the night. All matter is composed of energy that vibrates at different speeds. As of now, human beings do not pick up the faster or higher vibrations. There is much more out there than we perceive, and there is even more within ourselves. This is why physical experience is called Maya or delusion. We do not see the whole picture in its clarity. We see the reflection of things, not the things themselves. By meditation and self-consciousness, one can clear up the illusion and see things as they are. Nevertheless, talk is cheap. It is much harder to live the truth than to talk or write about it. Coupled with spiritual practices and yoga exercises, one can learn to gain self-consciousness and eventually God consciousness, allowing the individual to leave the cycle of life, death, and rebirth, and to return from whence he came. This liberation is referred to as nirvana. It takes many lifetimes to accomplish, but is the purpose of life. Many great saints that are enlightened choose to reincarnate to help their fellow man obtain liberation from samsara. They are known as bodhisattvas, or divine incarnations of the Godhead. The universe is composed of nature matter and intelligent matter. Matter differs in the degrees it is conscious. Each unit of nature is conscious as its function only. All intelligent matter can be conscious that it is conscious. This is what separates man from the animals. The purpose and plan of the universe is to make all units of matter conscious in ever higher degrees, so that nature matter becomes intelligent matter, and intelligent matter progresses in higher states of consciousness until it becomes conscious, not of consciousness, but as consciousness. It and consciousness are one and the same. There is no object and no subject. All is one. This is referred to as enlightenment or God consciousness. It is our destiny. All matter within the human body is impressed by the thoughts of the human. All matter in the world passes through human bodies, and it will continue to pass through the body in streams of units through circulation, which is kept up by thinking and breathing. The matter comes in, is affected for the betterment by human thinking and action, and returns to nature in a higher and more refined state from which it entered the body, especially if one is leading a righteous, healthy, and spiritual life. Units can only progress while in a human body. Hindus also believe in yuga cycles that have to do with the creation of the universe, which they consider to be an outbreathing of Brahma, or a day of Brahma, and a dissolution of the universe, or inbreathing of Brahma, that is referred to as a night of Brahma. The cycle repeats until the universe evolves back into unconscious sameness, without differentiation or manifestation. All is one, and one is all. This is referred to as a day and a night of Brahma, or a Mahayuga. In Western thought, we would say it is a cycle of evolution and involution. There can be no evolution without involution, nor involution without evolution. They are two sides of the same coin. In earlier videos, we mentioned the 4 yugas that are composed of 12,000-year half cycles and 24,000-year full cycles. The time it takes the precession of the equinoxes to complete one round. A full cycle is composed of an ascending cycle of 12,000 years when virtue increases, and a descending cycle of another 12,000 years in which virtue decreases. Thus, after the completion of a 12,000-year descending cycle from Satyuga to Kali Yuga, the sequence reverses itself, and an ascending cycle of 12,000 years begins, which runs from the Kali Yuga to the Satya Yuga. Both cycles relate to changes in the world in all aspects of life, including the intellectual and moral worlds, as well as science and the electric world. These changes can affect civilizations on Earth to their detriment, as in Shiva's destroying the world to make a more perfect one. hence the flood stories and other cataclysmic events such as collisions with comets, tsunamis, and subterranean volcanic activity. Some examples are the tales of the lost continent of Atlantis and Lemuria, and stories by the ancient priest Manetho, who wrote that the gods walked the earth for reigns that lasted thousands of years. Perhaps there were immortal gods, but just what is a god? As the chronicles progress, we will attempt to explain the difference between a god and God. We cannot rush into such subjects, as all good things mature slowly. We must crawl before we walk before we run, and run before we fly. To know where we are in the future, we must know where we are in the present. To know where we are in the present, we must know from whence we came in the past. The Chronicles will discuss many subjects to prepare the work ahead. The unraveling of some of the most esoteric secrets of mankind by knowing thyself. The time is ripe. We are presently in the Dwapara Yuga, meaning that the Kali Yugas are behind us. There is about 50 years left of the Dwapara Yuga, and then the Treta Yuga Silver Age begins. Life will noticeably change for the better once Treta Yuga begins, although there will be rough waters ahead as Dwapara transitions into Treta Yuga. This occurs between all cycles, just as a fever is worst before it breaks. Most likely there will be overpopulation and food shortages. War cannot be ruled out, but hopefully it will not occur this time around. Then a new golden age can begin, 10,000 years of heaven on earth. Notice that the elite are correct in their assumptions of overpopulation causing catastrophic problems. Nonetheless, we cannot correct such problems by reducing the world's population to 500 million as the Georgia Guidestones, Tim Turner, and the Club of Rome suggest. Change must come from within. Man must understand that the problem and realize that if he is not part of the solution, he is definitely part of the problem. This is part of the truth that best governance is self-government, where each individual does not go against the law. He cannot go against the law, as he is the law. Much needs to happen before this is doable. Likewise, the elite will come to realize that all souls are as precious as any others, and that the law has chosen them to be here to fulfill the universal plan. As we enter the new yuga, we will become closer to the center of the galaxy. As we get closer to the center, the Satya Yuga plays out. The ether becomes more condensed and refined, which will enable man to more easily understand the subtle laws of the universe that he is presently unaware of. In the last 100 years, man has come from riding a horse to developing the steam machine, cars, airplanes, huge ships with aircraft on them, rockets that fly to the moon, computers and cell phones that can connect to anywhere in the world. He has made more progress in the last 100 years than in the previous 1,000 years. This will be surpassed by the future that will make today's miracles look like child's play. This is because we are moving closer to the galactic center, from which emanates the logos, or demiurge, that begins creation. Zoroaster also has the 12 and 24,000 year cycles, or yugas. The Hindus believe in spirit and matter, which they call Purusha and Prakriti, the two primeval manifestations of the one reality. The cosmos is a thought made manifest, which equate the fish savior to the deity Prajapati. The fish savior later merges with the identity of Brahma in the post-Vedic era, and still later as an avatar of Vishnu. Recall the half-fish, half-man Oan that came forth from the water to teach the Mesopotamians the lesser mysteries. Vedanta is the ancient form of the Hindu and Indian belief system. It is based on the Vedas and the Upanishads, and in its clearest form in the Bhagavad Gita. These texts were written by the ancient rishis, or sages. Vedanta is the final goal of all knowledge. Thus, it reinforces the Earth Chronicle's belief that all religions are based on the same innate primal truths. Vedanta is part of universal cosmic law, which all religions descend from. It speaks to the innate soul within all humans that is a part of the Godhead. It reveals that man can become one with the divine reality or consciousness from which he comes. There are two sayings that sum these truths up quite well. The first, Tat Twam Asi, or thou art that. And the second is Sat Chit Ananda, truth is the consciousness of bliss. A normal, everyday life lived with such realization and spiritual basis will lead man back to the eternal order of progression from which he came, a being of light, truth, and incorruptibility, as Christ taught. In regard to the creation of the cosmos, Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita said, quote, "The seven great rishis, the four preceding Manus, partaking of my nature, were born from my mind. From them sprang forth the human race in the world, and my mind. From them sprang forth the human race in the world." End of quote. The seven rishis are the kings of the seven stars of the Great Bear constellation. The hierarchy of creative powers is divided into 7 sections within the 12 orders, as recorded by the 12 signs of the zodiac and the 7 days of the week. Krishna further states in the Gita, quote, "Those who understand the cosmic law know that the day of Brahma ends after 1,000 yugas, and the night of Brahma ends after another 1,000 yugas. When the day of Brahma dawns, forms are brought forth from the unmanifest. When the night of Brahma comes, these forms merge in the formless again. This multitude of beings is created and destroyed again and again in the succeeding days and nights of Brahma." End of quote. Hindus also believe in yuga cycles that have to do with the creation of the universe, which they consider to be an outbreathing of Brahma, or a day of Brahma, and a dissolution of the universe, or inbreathing of Brahma, that is referred to as a night of Brahma. The cycle repeats until the universe evolves back into unconscious sameness, without differentiation or manifestation. All is one, and one is all. This is referred to as a day and a night of Brahma, or a Mahayuga. In Western thought, we would say it is a cycle of evolution and involution. There can be no evolution without involution, nor involution without evolution. They are two sides of the same coin.